Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to Monorail Monday Season 4. This is going to be our 22nd episode, talking behind the scenes at Disney, what it's like to work at Disney, and things like that. But today, a little slight variation on that. I've got my scrapbook of Disney history here. And we're going to go through this. I'll probably split it into two parts because we'll cover a little bit of it today. We'll go over a few more things next week. And I'm going to try and sprinkle some of this stuff on Twitter as well so that you can maybe see some of these things up close or maybe be able to read some of these things a little better. This scrapbook here that I put together, and it's not completely full. Basically, a couple years after I started working at Disney, I decided I wanted to put together a scrapbook. It was, you were hearing rumors about things, a lot of stuff was going to be happening, getting built, starting in 1990. The Disney decade wasn't called that yet, but it was obvious there was a lot more expansion coming. And I've always loved history. I've loved sort of the documenting of things being built. One of my favorite books when I was a kid, they put out Disney. It was Shaped Like a D, black cover. A lot of you may know what that book is, and it showed a lot of construction photos in it. Loved that. I just was totally fascinated by that. So I decided I'm going to document this stuff. I'm going to comb through either, I didn't save as many of the eyes and ears, the cast member newsletters I would have liked. I gave a lot of those away way back when. But certainly all the stuff for the newspaper, like things like Parade Magazine and things like that, I was grabbing those out of the paper every single day and putting them aside. And so it's really cool, a time capsule, a snapshot, if you will, of 1990 and looking at what will be coming to Walt Disney World, stuff that has not yet been built at that time. And I didn't even look through this recently. I don't think I even made it through 1990 before I kind of stopped. I wasn't doing it. I was missing a bunch of days, and I was just kind of like, well, I don't think I'm going to end up doing this. Let's take a look at some of the stuff inside. It's going to start early January of 1990 and see what we find in here. So the first page here, got a couple of articles, and then one on the other side here. I've got attraction has Happy New Year, and that's talking about Pleasure Island. Pleasure Island had a party. It was always New Year's Eve at Pleasure Island. If you ever made it to Pleasure Island, the early concept, every night is New Year's Eve, and they had a countdown to midnight, and a celebration and such. So that was going on every night, and it was very popular some nights, not as popular other nights. Some nights it'd be quiet. Pleasure Island party draws sellout crowd of 4,500 on New Year's Eve, and for this party, they had 4,500 tickets sold at $55 each. So in today's dollars, if Disney had Pleasure Island still, and they were holding a New Year's Eve party, it'd probably guarantee minimum 100, probably pushing more towards 150 for the kind of stuff they would probably have going on there. So 55 seemed like a lot then, but in today's Disney dollars, probably relatively cheap. And here's a good one for those of you who are newer and only know Disney having 4 parks. Disney is looking to add an animal attraction to Walt Disney World. And the article basically says that they've been touring some of the nation's top zoos, seeking zoological information. There's a lot of speculation. Are they going to add an animal park? Or are they looking to do better with Discovery Island? At the time, Disney was being criticized a lot for Discovery Island. There's an article, I know I have the article somewhere in here, of Disney basically getting in trouble for clubbing vultures. They had a lot of vultures attracted to, like in the Contemporary area and Discovery Island, and basically cast members were clubbing the vultures to try and get rid of them. And that was a big controversy. It was a big article and everything to do. So there's speculation, is it going to be a park, or are they just looking to do better with the animals they have at Discovery Island? And it says Disney has played tape recordings of seagulls in distress to try and get rid of the birds. The Disney people got the recordings by putting seagulls in cages next to some peregrine falcons, which like to eat seagulls. When the seagulls started squawking, they got it on tape. This was not one of the charges that resulted in animal cruelty, by the way. And now Disney's going to have to come up with something new. So it's kind of funny. This was a problem. This was ongoing. My gosh, if this was Twitter, this is a minor thing we kind of discussed, and isn't it kind of funny? But nowadays, with social media and Twitter and all that kind of stuff, I mean, every one of these little articles would probably turn into some dramatic, colossal controversy of some sort. There's a good article here. Disney's new ride lifts off. That's Star Tours. And it talks about the new ride at the Disney MGM theme park. And they're also talking about a luxury hotel to be built near the Swan as part of the Disney Boardwalk. So they're beginning to talk about the boardwalk getting built in 1990. The Swan and Dolphin were there. They were still brand spanking new. But at the time, the boardwalk, it was kind of planned, but where the Boardwalk Hotel was, they had the wooden boardwalk all the way around from the Swan and Dolphin to the International Gateway entrance to Epcot. But there was nothing there. It was just basically empty space. And the Yacht and the Beach Club were getting ready. They were in the beginning stages of construction. What used to happen over on the boardwalk side of the boardwalk, when there was nothing there except just the boardwalk itself, there's just empty space and weeds next to the wooden boardwalk. You could actually catch a tram, a parking tram, from the Swan and the Dolphin to the International Gateway. Hey, check this out. New Wonders of Life is indeed that at Epcot's Future World. Talking about the opening of Wonders of Life, brand new pavilion over at Epcot. Now defunct and gone pavilion at Epcot. And I even got a little picture I shot myself here that I stuck in there. And it's kind of interesting to think back then that this was brand spanking new. And this was, I thought, at the time it was open, I thought, wow, this is really cool. This is one of my favorite pavilions. I really like this. I like Body Wars. Cranium Command was hilarious. Disney guests to see a lot of the Muppets. The Muppets will appear to step right off the screen into the theater. The live Muppet show, Here Come the Muppets, will be featured in the Walt Disney Theater, which will be reconstructed to accommodate the show. Later in 1991, Disney will add a 3D movie starring the Muppets. A theater will have to be built to accommodate the 3D movie too, but the company would not disclose the future theater's location. Disney shows off plans for the 90s, planning a 4th park, 7 hotels, and a lot of rides. This is from early mid-January, and an announcement where Michael Eisner said the actual words, the Disney decade. So this is talking about some of the stuff that's just been built and things that are coming. Here is what Walt Disney World was planning at the announcement of the Disney decade in January of 1990. Here are some of the things that Michael Eisner said will be coming during the 90s. Let's see how many things actually got built and how many were changed. In May, the Muppets Parade is coming. Mid-1990, Here Comes the Muppets. In mid-1990, Dick Tracy Musical Review. Mid-1990, Disney Channel Auditions. Mid-1990, Let's Make a Deal. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids Adventure Zone. 1991, Muppet Studios. That was going to include 2 restaurants, 2 Muppet-themed restaurants, a 3D movie, and in 1993, a Muppets movie ride. So out of all that stuff, only the Muppet 3D movie ever was completed. In 1992, for the Disney decade, 1992 at the studios, Noah's Ark, a nighttime show by Andrew Lloyd Webber, creator of Phantom of the Opera, would be shown. This will be shown on the waterway linking Epcot and the studio tour. Let's see, mid-1990s, Sunset Boulevard. The new street would include Toontown Trolley, using a flight simulator to take guests on a hair-raising ride through the world of Roger Rabbit. Another thing did not ever get built. Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers, another high-speed chase ride in which guests can operate gangster-style Tommy guns. Mickey's Movie Land, a replica of the company founder, Walt Disney Studios. Not built, not built. Over at Epcot, 1992, various enhancements to Future World, no details. So, okay, that may or may not have happened. 1994, new 3D musical movie by George Lucas would be at Epcot. And I don't think we saw that new 3D movie. I think what we ended up getting was Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. I think that's what we ended up getting instead. In the late 1990s, this is good, late 1990s at Epcot, Soviet Pavilion, the Swiss Pavilion with a Matterhorn Mountain Thrill Ride, and Journeys in Space Pavilion featuring outer space experiences. We got the Space Pavilion eventually, unfortunately at the expense of Horizons. At the Magic Kingdom, mid-1990, a live stage show in Tomorrowland Theater featuring the music of the new Mickey Mouse Club. Mid-1990, new character show in Mickey's Starland, formerly Mickey's Birthday Land. In Mickey's Birthday Land, Mickey's Starland, all of that stuff that it was changing in name. People were always confused what it was, where it was. 1992, a new 360-degree circle vision show on the cultures of Western civilization. 1993, Splash Mountain Thrill Ride, which has a 5-story plunge. That did get built. It's very popular. People love riding Splash Mountain. I was super excited. When I was a kid, I kept thinking, why don't they have a log flume? They could, obviously, they're not going to do the Six Flags log flume. It would be heavily themed and that sort of thing. But I thought, it seems insane that they haven't put in a log flume. They could do a log type ride and it would probably be amazing. I was thinking this in the 70s as a kid. I did not come up with the Splash Mountain theming, but even as a kid I thought they got to do something like that. It makes so much sense, especially in the Florida heat, to have a ride like that. And so, 15, 20 years later, they actually did put one in there. When you're a cast member and new rides open, you usually get cast previews before the ride is open to the public. Splash Mountain was one of my favorite new attractions that opened when I was there, and I got to ride that for cast previews. I went in there. They usually were running it like late afternoon and just rode over and over, and it's just a handful of cast members riding it at that time. A lot of people were working. It's still late afternoon. I just rode in a log by myself over and over for hours and hours, and then it started raining. I didn't care. I was already a little bit wet, and it was really, really cool to ride that thing so much before it even opened to anybody else. 1994, the Little Mermaid show will take guests into the world from the Disney movie. We eventually did get a Little Mermaid ride, but not a show, and it was quite a few years after the mid-90s that we got that. In 1996, Tomorrowland will be redesigned as an intergalactic spaceport for arriving aliens. 2 new attractions will be coming, including Alien Encounter. Remember that? Alien Encounter was awesome. It was great in its first incarnation. There was a second incarnation that sort of dropped the terror down a little bit, and then the third incarnation was Stitch. But the very first one was very, very limited time during cast previews, and then a little bit of time was open to the public. That was awesome. That was awesome. Wish you could have seen it. It was really good. So coming in 1990, also new hotels, the Walt Disney World Dolphin, Yacht Club, Beach Club. In 1991, Port Orleans, moderately priced room. 1992, Dixie Landing. So there's a couple of other mentions in this article about more things that are coming. Hollywood-style hotel to contain 1,000 rooms. that, and one is going to be built as the Hollywood Horror Hotel, and it's going to include a Tower of Terror. And it basically says that guests would be able to tour haunted rooms and corridors, the boiler rooms and other haunts before making their very quick exit on the free-falling service elevator. And real quick, I'm going to show you this. This is from Tropic magazine, which is kind of like Parade was. If you haven't seen it, it's like a little mini magazine in the Sunday paper. This is Tropic, which was in the Miami Herald, the Miami paper. And I love this. I love this picture, Mickey. And it basically says, "Duck, Disney's newest attraction, isn't very attractive." And you can see Mickey is in quite a bit of terror there. And you see another great bit of art here of the buzzards that are coming to attack the castle. Disney under siege by terrifying birds. How prevalent were they? Well, here's a picture. So you can see these are vultures gathering, catching some rays on Discovery Island. There's a bunch of them there. So you can see it was a real problem with these vultures gathering all over the beach. So it was around 1988 that the birds really started making an impact. Disney was really upset, and it basically says that Disney workers ran at the birds. They waved their arms. That didn't do anything. They shot off flare guns, rocket bombs, and other fireworks. When the smoke cleared, the vultures were back. They stretched fishing line over animal feeding areas to no avail. They captured and relocated 112 vultures 200 miles away. A week later, there were more vultures than ever. They set up a think tank of 12 national wildlife experts. The experts are still working on it. Disney helicopters were seen buzzing Discovery Island in the Contemporary Hotel, charging through these circling vultures. The vultures drifted out of chopper range and then came back. Exactly what happened is up for dispute, the article says. But one thing started to happen. The vultures began to die, and they were a protected species at the time. Carcasses were on the beach, and it started just really stinking, and there was a bad stench. Lots of dead vultures. So further discussing here a little bit, it says Disney is surrounded by 20,000 acres of undeveloped wilderness. It has mice, it has rats, it has feral cats, pigeons, opossums, raccoons, nuisance ducks. When animals go where they don't want them, Disney usually carries things out quietly with a .22 caliber rifle. This is common knowledge among Disney employees. It's also perfectly legal. 3 Disney employees said that early in the onslaught, a federal wildlife agent brought a 12-gauge shotgun to Discovery Island with the message, "To control these birds, you need the element of surprise and the threat of danger. You have to waste one once in a while so the other birds can see the dead one and the man standing over there with a gun in his hand." So we're going to stop right there. I mean, we've barely scratched the surface. There's a lot more stuff we can do, can look at here, which we'll probably do from time to time. But I just wanted to show you at least a little bit of that. In the Disney decade, it was pretty interesting when that happened. It was very cool to see all the stuff that was coming. In my mind, I'm working monorails and I'm thinking, wow, where else could I transfer? A 4th park would be really cool to go and open up a new park. So thanks for joining us. Hope you like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. We got more Monorail Monday to come. We may look at the scrapbook again next week and see if we can find any more interesting facts about things that were going on in 1990 as Disney was rushing into the Disney decade. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And remember, kids, most importantly, have a good time all the time.